if we're going to try and hit all these points, that might be our first step, is just going out to the east. We'll try and clean up all these. And the first one we hit is polar jade.
Would be Jade beaver. Yeah, I have the Jade beaver.
You're not the Jade beaver?
Jade what?
Jade beaver.
No.
That's not your company?
My company is kinda Rocky International.
You just got here recently?
Yeah. Ah? 没有啊.
Where are you going?
Alright.
Anyone translated it to Mandarin?
We should have brought some generic ones, hey? Here you go. There you go.
There could be one of these translated, right?
When you see cats plowing over pristine caribou habitat in places where we take our kids to hunt, places where you used to see 40, 50 moose, now it's replaced with garbage, I was speechless. So these are fairly new.
Like, look at some of these things. It's wide open. They got a nest going on up in here and everything.
All this stuff. This is like pyrite gold.
There's two types of jade, and in Canada, nephrite jade, it's the darker, harder kind of jade in our territory, and it's really only in a couple of spots in BC and a couple of spots in Quebec, so it's actually extremely rare, and it gets more and more valuable every year.
Seems to me what's not usable, they end up just throwing it all in a pile here.
We were unaware what he was doing.
Here it is, have roads that aren't permitted, so we can block the roads. We ask in the letter for them to peacefully shut down, and the hope is that they respect those wishes and go to the province, and then the province can deal with them, because the province is ultimately the ones responsible for handing out these illegal tenures, and I say they're illegal because this industry clearly doesn't respect modern day Aboriginal law, which would say that if there's any significant impacts on a First Nation's rights and or title, then there should be benefits going back to the nation. They should be thoroughly consulted depending on the level of impact, etc. It's unfortunate that it's come to this, but do what you gotta do.
Well, these particular jade operators have a show on the Discovery Channel called Jade Fever that's been running for several years now.
People kind of knew it was going on out there, but Jade Fever really opened the doors. That's when the phone calls really started, and the questions, coming from members, and why are we allowing this to happen?
To be clear, your activities here are unlawful and deeply disrespectful to our Tahltan culture, people, and our ancestors that shed blood for these lands. This letter is your final notice to shut down your operations immediately. Respectfully, Chad Norman Day, President, Tahltan Central Government.
Thank you. But on our permit to be approved, the Tahltan Nation has to approve of that to to be active, correct?
No, we receive the permits, and we have the opportunity to have input. In recent years, our input has said that we don't want these activities happening. BC First Nations are in this delicate dance right now where they're trying to reconcile and recognize Aboriginal rights and title, and First Nations are being more assertive than ever before. And at the Tahltan Central Government with the Tahltan people, in recent years we've made it extremely clear to the government that we do not support Jade and placer activities.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Nice
All
meeting
right.
you. Thank you.
Jade over there, the Jade people with TVs and whatnot. That'll get it out there for us too.
It was the perfect one. That's the one we needed. It should have been like all over your crew. All your crew over.
I just wonder how long it takes for them to get it on TV, though. Probably a couple months at least.
That wasn't part of the fleet that we got past, but I know he had a bunch of those. I wonder where he's at today.
I know that he's probably not here because he probably doesn't have the permits.
Companies might have got all their stuff in place or left it here in place, been all geared up to go, and they're just waiting on permits from the government and they're not getting them.
Yep, that's what
I think that's what's happening. Because it's one thing to have a legitimate tenure, but then sometimes you need permits to go with that tenure. And I mean, our friends in government have told us everything Jade, placer related has gone at the bottom of the pile and they're not touching it.
You know, there's our history on that Fenneglody, right? There was a history on that when the floods. That's where the Tahltans retreated to. The history is about the 7 canoes.
It's pretty spiritual. We were hoping to build a culture camp out there about 5-6 years ago, but the way it sits right now, it is totally impossible. It is not a safe area.
As president of the Tahltan Central Government, I am here to formally inform you that your company's operations within our territory do not have the consent of our people. As a result, you are infringing on our Aboriginal rights and title, and your ongoing activities are extremely disrespectful and illegal under Tahltan law. Our territory and the Jade within our lands are an important cultural resource and must only be disturbed or utilized with the consent of the Tahltan people. Since you have failed to gain our permission, your continued operations here must stop immediately. To be clear, your activities here are unlawful and deeply disrespectful to our Tahltan culture, people, and our ancestors that shed blood for these lands. This letter is your final notice to shut down your operations immediately, and we encourage you to do so peacefully and without conflict. If you fail to respect such requests from the Tahltan Nation, we will do everything in our power to have you permanently evicted from our homeland. Respectfully, Chad Norman Day, President, Tahltan Central Government.
Should I take this?
Yep, that letter is for you and the company, and we expect that you're going to have further conversations with the ministry as we are.
Yeah, it was really tough because there was a few places I kind of felt really intimidated. But why do they think they can make me feel uncomfortable in my own territory?
Sure you guys don't want to go inside?
No, I think we're good. I'm good. It's especially concerning all the garbage coming up and down that road. It's like a huge slap in the face for our youth.
A runoff like this that's running down to wherever, it's a fish-bearing stream. And if it is, you got to take a lot of precautions.
I can understand that completely.
So, and if this come to hit with anything, we would do the reclamation.
Say that, I don't know who the owner
And that's one of the reasons why we're here, is because we've been waiting a long time. Like you said, you've been out here for 30 years. And my dad would be here today, who was in leadership then and didn't approve of it then. And he couldn't be because he's sick. But these are the issues, and we can't wait around anymore.
They've got jade boulders chopped up and rocks chopped up all over the landscape.
You know, those tenures that's approved of, you would think that they would have all this in place, you know, and then it would sort of like go, it goes back to the government, they would know that, right? They give these tenures out there and all that, and then it follows up with the permits and whatnot. You know, for if you're going to go across a creek in a stream like that, you would have to have that permit. I say the government should be working with us.
Then I'm going to a finer and finer grit, and then it'll come out really smooth. And then from there, after the polishing, like I said, it's still not completely green. Then we move on to waxing. Still, it's not completely green, as you can see. So, yeah, so 70-75% of nephrite jade comes from this area, northern BC. Now they're harvesting the jade from a mountainside. They're just like cutting off big chunks from it. They're not even mining boulders of it. So when you hear like nephrite jade in China, for example, it most likely came from here. And then if we happen to get a very good grade A quality of jade, then we send it overseas. We have like a factory in China, for example, and New Zealand, and they carve it there and then send it back.
Hey, is that Jade?
Yep.
Have you gone to one of the auctions?
No. They've been jade mining since at least the 80s, possibly the 70s. And every year it just gets more and more valuable. The province doesn't make money from jade mining. They don't know what these big boulders get sold for at auction. At the end of the day, I mean, it's just an industry that is really devastating on the environment. And there's no conservation officers out there. There's no enforcement out there. It's a mess.
Broken down mining equipment, fuel spills, garbage everywhere and steel everywhere. They just drop it and leave it where it's at. And there's absolutely no regulations, and they don't care.
Prime moose habitat there. I think we have no choice but to stop it. But what I'd like to see is stronger environmental standards. You know, we should treat them exactly the way we treat mining and exploration. I hope the Tahltan people, our nation, and the miners can figure that out, but the Wild Wild West is gone.
With the jade and placer industries, I mean, these aren't industries that benefit very many people. It doesn't benefit the average British Columbian, Canadian, certainly not Tahltans. Given that very few people understand the industry and it's in such an isolated area where you don't have a provincial office with regular enforcement staff coming out here, it's a bit of a Wild West gong show that's become a real problem. So we put a lot of pressure on the ministry. We're putting pressure on the operators. We did what we had to do.